Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. This is Fritz. Bring you the latest news. Yesterday, a lot of us were watching the playoffs. It was a great weekend for playoffs. So many close games, so many great games. But we saw an unfortunate injury by Damian Lillard. And Damian Lillard, one of the best point guards in the NBA, Dame time. He had a miraculous return to the NBA court after having a DVT in his leg. That's usually something that keeps people out a minimum of um, 3 months, and he came back in a matter of weeks for the playoffs. His team absolutely needed it. The Bucks are a team running out of assets, kind of running out of time. Um, they have one of the best players, top three players in the world, in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and they're just trying to maximize their talent. Um, it's the closest. Um, they were supposed to be a three-headed monster. We saw that this year. They moved Chris Middleton. It just had to be done. He just wasn't healthy enough. They they really are a win now team if we ever seen one in the NBA. So they are living championship or bust every year. And one thing Giannis has been adamant about is that he is loyal to Milwaukee as long as they are winning, as long as they are competing for championships. He is willing to stay in a small market. Um, Before we get into that part, we're going to kind of look at a previous injury that Damian Lillard had exactly a year ago. Um, we see Damian Lillard has injured his Achilles, and it was a mild Achilles injury. So we saw he didn't need surgery for that, um, but it may have contributed to his current injuries. And here it is on X, Dr. Evans Jeffries. He says this is the play where Damian Lillard strained his Achilles last playoffs. Oftentimes, a precursor to Achilles rupture is past history because of the degenerative changes made. So that last injury could have could be a factor into this injury. Also, his DVT injury weakens weakens your leg strength. So that's also weak leg strength is is a factor in that type of injury. So this could be reason why this happened. Doesn't change the fact that it did happen. Um, it's unfortunate. So, what does an Achilles? How long is this going to keep him out of the game? We know Lillard is 34 years old. He'll be 35 years old this summer. Um, so he is an aging NBA star. Um, he he takes a large chunk of their salary cap, so his return is vital for the Bucks. Well, if you look up, if you look up Achilles tear, a lot of times you'll see 6 to 9 months, and it's it's not the same as a regular person, because a regular person, all you have to do is be able to just go to work, sit in a chair. Um, you know, a lot of people aren't doing athletic things at work, but for an athlete, it's going to take extra long. So it's usually a year or longer for an athlete to come back from an ACL tear. And not only that, when they come back, they kind of have to ramp up. So, so you come back, you may be able to play, but you're not exactly yourself. You kind of have to play for a while, and then to get back to where you were. And age is a factor. Recovering time for an older person isn't the same as a very young person. So it's the end of this season. We could very well see Damian Lillard miss the entire 25-26 year. And if the team, putting the health of the player first, probably would just say forget about next year. Also for the team, they can usually, if it's a full year out, you usually can get insurance on the player. They usually don't have to pay the salary because they could put it through insurance. So that's probably a big reason a team isn't going to rush them back. Okay, so what does that mean for the Bucks? Can the Bucks survive a year without him? Well, the situation that they have with Giannis is a big factor. If Giannis demands that they be contenders and they know that he's going to miss a year, what other options do they have? Do they have options to go out and get a guy? Let's look in our the computer again, and I'm just looking up Fanspo, and this is the Fanspo has updated their numbers for next year, and you see the tax base, 23.1 million, and a big reason, they the Bucks have been like a high salary team, but the big reason this is that Brooks salary comes off the salary chart. If we look at the payroll, we see Brooke Lopez is no longer there. Brooke Lopez, who took his cap hold, is $34.5 million. So at 37 years old, you don't think he's going to come back. Even at the pay cut, they have indicated that they really want to go in a new direction at center. Kyle Kuzma has been a disappointment this year. So it could. That's a huge factor. That they could probably bring in a free agent if they want it. The numbers we're looking at is for 12 players on the roster. They probably can bring in somebody for $23.1 million. But what we've seen with this class, there isn't much. There isn't a lot of all-stars who could replace Damian Lillard. We'll look and think. What about the draft? There's the draft is coming up. Maybe you can get a top point guard in the draft. Let's look. We see the Buck situation. No first round picks this year. Okay, so maybe no, nothing significant. A lot of these are every first round pick they have swapped it, so they don't even own their pick, and so they're kind of stuck. They can't really trade any of these picks because they're already promised to swap them. So they are in a bad situation. This is why I think Giannis um, may request to be out. And before this, I thought Giannis could possibly leave this year, but I think this makes it it's more sure than it was before. Before, perhaps they can get Giannis to, stick it out a half a season and see. Well, Damian Lillard, he doesn't have a partner. He begged to get a partner, to get me this player. I just wanted to shout out the chat real quick. Coach CR, also Lawrence Tears, and thanks for joining. So they're in a bad situation. So where does that put the Bucks? Because if the Bucks traded Giannis, could they trade Giannis and still be a good team? They can probably trade Giannis and get back more than they gave up. So Giannis is a star player. He scores about 30 points a game. High rebounder. Could they replace those points? Yes, they definitely can. The problem is, can you get somebody who can lead the team first off? There are no leaders left on the team. So even if you got more than you gave up in Giannis, would you even be a playoff team? Would you be building something? So just having two decent players or three decent players, if you don't have really good first round picks coming, you really need to build a whole new foundation. Okay, so what if they traded Damian Lillard himself? So Damian Lillard has 2 years left on his contract. You're basically asking a team, hey, keep Lillard out for an entire year, and perhaps he'll start the next season. And that's not a good proposition for any team. The only teams that probably would do it for bargain, and they probably wouldn't do it over the summer. You probably can get away with doing it at next deadline. So next deadline, if you want to trade an injured Lillard, somebody can probably give you matching contracts, give you some expirings, but they're not going to give you anything good. They're just going to give you maybe something to expire, maybe some second rounders, but they're going to want the upper hand in that trade. So this really puts the Bucks in a bad way. The Bucks have really bet on Giannis and have been willing to pay into the second in the second tier. So they are really in a bad way. If they did trade Giannis, you have to consider that Giannis has given them chances, and he's had that relationship where he said that as long as they're winning, as long as he's winning, he pretty much would rock with them. So you can't just go out and say, hey, I'm going to trade Giannis and I'm going to get the best deal. Because basically Giannis is not going to take that. And I think they would respect him enough, and they had that deal with him, that they would give him choices. And one thing about Giannis, he's not going to go from a poor team to another poor team. So Giannis wants to go from a competing situation to a competing situation. So you're not going to probably trade him to a team that's going to give you first round picks, because the team he wants to go to is already competing. I'm gonna have another video on that. We're gonna get deeper into it. We're gonna just look at just real quick of just Lillard's numbers and what they have to replace. And we see that he was injured 2 years ago. Before 2 years ago, and he came back, and then he scored really good, even though coming back from a major injury. So he's going to be hard to replace. I think we're looking at the Bucks. I'm not sure if they're going to be wanting to do a total rebuild, but basically having a fire sale. So trading Giannis where he wants. Hopefully, you get two close to all-star players or all-star players for him to probably win in the team he wants to go to. And then you wait a year, or you wait to the deadline, and then you trade Damian Lillard, hopefully for some expirings and some picks that you can build on. It's gonna be a really tough go for Milwaukee. The CBA is really restrictive, and Milwaukee has pretty much played to win, willing to go into the tax, and this is where kind of the pain comes in. They have to take some risks. It's really in Giannis's court. Giannis can play hardball and then demand to go to a team that doesn't have a lot of picks, and then make it even tougher for the Bucks. They would have to make a decision of looking bad by being kind of disloyal to their player, or do you want to win enough that you're willing to send him not to his preferred spot? So that's with Damian Lillard's injury. We probably can see him having surgery in the next couple weeks, and then they'll start talking about rehab. Some people have talked about perhaps this is the spot where he retires, because he's going to be 35 this year. Already Chris Haynes has talked to him and had said he's going to aggressively pursue rehab. He wants to get back as soon as he can. I don't think there's any chance he'll be back next year. I think he'll be back in 2 seasons. So the 26-27 year, I think, is the return date for Damian Lillard. I don't think any team wants to pay him out of their pocket next year. I think that what they're going to do is they're just going to write it off on insurance. So that's all I have for now. I'm going to have another talk about not only this situation, but more in depth about the Giannis situation, and probably the teams I think are most likely going to be in the hunt for him and be on his list, because it's going to be a two-way street. It's not what Giannis wants, it's not just what the team wants. Gonna kind of have to meet in the middle. So that's what I have. Please support the channel. Just a like is support. You don't have to send anything money. A like is support, a share is support, a comment is support, a question is support. So I really thank you for joining, and I will catch you the next time. All right, you have a great night.